What you're seeing here is a bottle uncovered in a mass grave that has a connection to the Israeli colony, but not in the way you might think. That bottle was found in a mass grave in what many of us know today as Sri Lanka. To those not a part of the Sri Lankan settler colony, though, that island is known as Elam. The Israeli colony was not the only settler colonial project of its kind that emerged from British colonial rule in 1948. Alongside it also emerged Sri Lanka. As Israelis went to work establishing a Jewish majority colonial project in Palestine, Sinhala Buddhists went to work in Sri Lanka. In both of their cases, their independence in 1948 didn't bring an end to colonization, but rather a change in the form of colonization that other oppressed peoples were facing. In the Israeli context, it was Palestinians. In the Sri Lankan context, it was Elam Tamils. Sri Lankans, like their Israeli counterparts, established apartheid structures that deliberately excluded native Elam Tamils from state services and opportunities. Those discriminatory policies sparked peaceful protests by the Tamil people, who were met with horrific pogroms in 1956, 58, 74, 77, and 81, as well as an infamous 1983 pogrom known as Black July. The oppression faced by Tamil people in the midst of their peaceful demonstrations eventually led them down the road to armed resistance and the establishment of an organization known as the Tamil Tigers. The Tigers, like their counterparts in the Palestinian resistance, took up arms against the Sri Lankan government and attempted to essentially bring an end to the colonial domination they were facing. Their operations in the initial stages of what became a civil war were incredibly successful overall, and they developed from a sort of insurgent group into an outright standing military body that was armed to the teeth and bringing real force against the Sri Lankan army. A Sri Lankan military that you might not be surprised to hear was supplied and advised by the Israelis. Beyond being trained by the Israeli Mossad and Shin Bet and armed by Israeli arms manufacturers, the Sri Lankan government also attempted to adopt the settlement operations that they saw on the West Bank and apply them to the Sri Lankan context. The Sri Lankan government, not just because of the supplies that it received from Israelis, but also other actors, India, Pakistan, China, the United States, and others, would eventually kind of overcome the Tamils, and in doing so began a campaign of genocidal annihilation against the Tamil people. As a result of the Sri Lankans regaining a military advantage, many Tamils were forcibly disappeared by the project, with Amnesty International estimating in a 2017 report that between 60,000 and 100,000 people have disappeared in Sri Lanka since the late 1980s. And in the final stages of the Civil War, which ended in 2009, the Tamil community estimates that nearly 170,000 people were killed. We still don't know the full whereabouts of many of the people who were disappeared, and we don't know the full scale of atrocities committed by the Sri Lankan government both during and after the Civil War, but the existence of mass graves like this one give us a pretty good indication of what they were doing. And it's really critical that we understand that history, because in a lot of ways, the Sri Lankan strategy against the Tamils is being replicated by the Israelis against Palestinians in Gaza. This campaign of total annihilation, of encirclement and slaughter, is something that many Tamil people are incredibly familiar with, as that is what happened to their communities on the island of Elam. This photo came from Elam, but it could have just as easily come from anywhere in Gaza. In fact, many photos just like this have. The Tamil people, like Palestinians, are still waging a struggle against a genocidal colonial occupying force that seeks their total annihilation. God willing, they'll win. But yeah, just something we're thinking about. As always, free Tamil Elam, free Palestine, salamu alaikum, and have a great day.